Hey there. I am being told to do this, and if I don't, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. And so I'm going to go ahead and do it. This is dedicated to all the sisters that I've had an opportunity to speak into your lives, and all the sisters who spoke with other sisters based upon what both Jill and I have spoken into your lives. This is triggered, believe it or not. I decided I wanted a different type of breakfast and went out to Miss Shirley's in Annapolis. And if you don't know about Miss Shirley's in Annapolis, then you don't know about breakfast, especially here on the East Coast in Maryland. And so I went there knowing I wasn't going to be able to eat that kind of food, but I just wanted to do something different, maybe get a biscuit. And that's exactly what I did. I don't eat eggs, so one day you all will hear the production on that. But anyway, while I was at Miss Shirley's, one of my daughters came through, and I call her a spiritual daughter, Yolanda. Now, I can't remember Yolanda's last name. All I know is that she's married to a champ, and they got a beautiful baby. And she came and she gave me a hug, but she hugged me from behind, but she hugged me like she knew me. And I said, okay, somebody has to know me. And when she began to just thank me for the stuff that I had done in her life, I was trying to thank her. And finally, I just had to listen. And I had to excuse myself and go to the bathroom, because I said, listen, I did not come into Miss Shirley's to cry. I came here just to sit across from my wife and enjoy myself. But it was right on time, because I keep hearing daddy conversations. And I kept hearing it. And so then I said, all right, I'm going to do it. Started setting this up. And as I began to set it up, I said, let me check and see, because somebody had told me that it had sent some kind of private message or something. And I had somebody send it to me, and I looked at it. And it was one of the daughters and the son of the ministry who are about to get married, if they haven't already gotten married. No, they wouldn't. No, they haven't, because I would have been invited. And then again, maybe, I don't know, or whether they married or not. Let me tell you this. They both came through the ministry, and he cleans up well, because she cleaned his tail all the way up. He even looked like he got lotion on his face. And so, but I'm saying that to say I looked at my cell phone, and when I looked at my cell phone, sure enough, she was thanking me for being a father in her life. And I want to tell you all something. I didn't set out to do this. I set out to follow a call. And I could only father people because my father fathered me. And yeah, we had a few issues, but the truth of the matter is I had a father father me. And all I did was give to men and women what I thought I was supposed to give. And on top of it, it just started getting downloaded. And so that became what I did. And so my focus in this impartation, and this is for my granddaughter Zuri. She's now 4. Zuri, when you see this, I want you to understand, Big Daddy is leaving this for you. So I don't care, it could be 2028, 2030, 2035. A man is a man is a man is a man. and of females, of females, of females, of females. So listen to what I'm saying. I don't care what happens in technology. If y'all floating all around the place, what I'm telling you is going to apply when it comes to understanding the psyche of yourself, the psyche of a man, the psyche of other people. And so this is for you, baby. And to my daughter, Talita, who I've had the opportunity to father. We're supposed to be stepfathers, but I didn't believe in it. And I am her dad, and she calls me dad. Took a long time, but she calls me dad. And so this is to her and to all the other sisters that I've had an opportunity to father from afar. I'm just going to share what's on my spirit and what's on my mind. And if you can, let me know how this has blessed you, and what, or just what it meant to you. And brothers, I'll give us some to you, but I'm feeling led to do an impartation on daddy conversations. And so, let's go. A woman is always going to see you and see everybody through the eyes of the dad she had or didn't have. If he rejects or ignores her, if he abandons her, whatever the case may be, she's always going to see through the lens of what her relationship was or wasn't with her father. And so one day I saw a video, and the young lady said, I didn't need him. I became what I needed to become without him. So Dad, I didn't need him. And I don't need him. And the question I had to ask, is that true or false? There are a lot of us, because we became a success, we believe that, well, because I didn't have a dad and I became a success, I didn't need him anyway because I didn't miss him. Well, I don't think that's necessarily true, and we'll talk about it. In talking about it, what I want to talk about is purpose. Purpose is the source of all true fulfillment, and it defines one's existence. Purpose not only defines one's existence, without purpose, life ceases to be meaningful. And so if you don't have purpose, you don't have meaning in your life. If men do not know and understand or fulfill their God-given purpose, and I'll say that again, if men, a male man, does not know, understand, or fulfill their God-given purpose, then the children grow up with problems that often arise both in their identity and their relationships. So let me explain that. If a man does not understand his purpose, then what he's going to do is hand his ignorance. And ignorance is not negative. It's just he's going to hand down to his children, as much as he loves them, he's going to hand down to them some problems in their identity and their relationships. Because, and brothers, I give you a pass in one sense. If you've never been trained how to be a man, then you don't know how to be a father. And so if you want to know the purpose of a thing, never ask the thing itself. Purpose is found only in the mind of the maker of the thing, Miles Monroe. So I learned years ago, he said, you're only going to find your purpose in the thing, in the maker of the thing. And so hopefully today we will find our purpose in this whole fatherhood thing, and there will be an impartation that will take place for you. God is the God of purpose, and everything in life has purpose. When purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. And so let me give you an example. It's etched in my memory. I went to the movies one time, and I went down, I guess, to go get some popcorn or something. And as I was coming down the stairs and I rounded the corner. A little girl, she looked to be about 6 or so, maybe 7, but she was about 6, and she had spilt the drink and thus tried to grab it and spilt the popcorn. And her father said, "Man, what you do, man? What you do, man? Dang, man." And he was just like, "Ah, damn." And I looked in her eyes as she was looking up at him. And when she looked at him, she just wanted to please him. And I wanted to say something so bad, but I said, I can't say nothing. But I said, if this is her experience with a man, she is going to be messed up for the rest of her life unless she gets help. And so when your father, there was this other man, I saw him and it disturbed me. I went to visit someone and I was sitting outside waiting for them to come outside, and he was trying to teach his son how to run a route in football and do something, and it was on the street. And every time his son did something wrong, he lit into him, and it was terrible the way he was criticizing him. And so much so that his mother finally came out and was like, "Charles, cut it out, Charles. Come on in here, John." And I guess she saw me looking, and I said, wow. And so when I start talking about daddy conversations right now, I'm just going to try to impart to you what I imparted to my daughter and to other sisters who have come up under the what I teach or what I have taught. What is a father? The Hebrew word for father is ab or abba, meaning daddy. That's where we get the word daddy, Abba, father. The Greek word for father is pater, or patar, or pater. And so the source of a thing is in its ab, or father. And so the source of a father is in the father, as the source sustains and maintains. I often tell brothers to find the Father in you, because the Father is in you, just as the boy is in you and the Son is in you. And find the Father in you and say, if the Father in me was fathering me, what would he say to me and tell me to do? And you can often find out that you can connect with the spirit of fatherhood. And so a father is the source that upholds everything that comes from it. So if you think about the father is the source that upholds everything that comes from it. This is why those with fathers, with a father's heart, feel so responsible for their children's future. Let's talk about this. When you are truly a father, everything that comes from you, everything that comes out of your home, everything that comes out of your loins, every child that comes up under your tutelage, what's going to happen is that if you have a father's heart, you're going to feel responsible for them and their future. And so what a father does is a father thinks in advance. A father thinks about the future. And this is why it's always hard, especially if you're a single mother, to handle a father's voice. And I know with my wife, her father, she didn't grow up with her father per se. She had some other issues that went down in terms of her growing up. And so when she got around me, she could not understand a father's voice. But I'm so glad she said she married me knowing that she could not tell me what to do. Now, I didn't know this. I found this out years later. But let me tell you something. What goes around comes around, because she tell me what to do right now. But now I digress. Let me go back to this. And so when you have a father's heart, you feel responsible and you do what you can to prepare that person for the future. Because your goal as a father is to make them self-sufficient. I got this saying that I had with my daughter, and I would say, listen, baby, I need you to hear what I'm saying. You're either going to drink juice or Kool-Aid. And she said, Dad, what are you talking about? Well, she didn't even say Dad at that time because she did everything she could to keep from addressing me. She knew I wanted her to call me Dad, but she didn't want to betray her own dad. So all this sort of stuff was happening, and it was a whole bunch of back and forth and wishy-washy. So she would come and say, the phone, but she would do everything she could do. But I had to say to her, you are either going to drink Kool-Aid or you're going to drink juice. And what I meant by that, I told her, I said, either you are going to be self-sufficient and be able to have 100% juice in your refrigerator, or you're going to be drinking Kool-Aid. Now, ain't nothing wrong with Kool-Aid, but you'll find out it's more healthier not to drink dye than it is to drink juice. And I said, and the only way that's going to happen is that you learn how to take care of yourself. That was an impartation. Take care of yourself. And cute dies. Cute only lasts for a while. And cute will only carry you but so far. You got to be able to have something within you. And so now let's talk about a father's responsibility. He was supposed to be your nurturer, your guardian, your standard of manhood, your instructor, your observer, your encourager, your protector, your source. And so when you're a father, he was supposed to be the nurturer. A father is supposed to nurture the soul of his child. I learned quite some time ago that a father has to be on two sides. He has to be able to be firm, but he has to also be able to be gentle. He has to be able to be direct, but he also has to be able to be understanding. He has to be able to walk this tightrope to understand what it is if he's going to present the child right and set them up for the future. So he's your nurturer, your guardian, your Superman. And now I'll tell you about that, what I mean, but he's supposed to be the guardian of your soul, the guardian of the house, the guardian of the energy inside the home. He's supposed to be your standard of manhood. When you go to look for a man, if your father has done his job, then you're going to look for someone who is like your dad. At one point, my daughter said she would never deal with a man like me. Now she always talking about, I want somebody that's free like my dad. I want somebody who's free. Now she may not want somebody as wild as me, but she said, I just want somebody that's free, and then, you know, that we can be friends and all that. I tell you, kids change, don't they? They be talking about how they can't stand you and all that, but then all of a sudden they want to be like you. But I'm happy because the fact that she wants somebody who's free is great to me. And so I told her, I said, listen, you can get with a white man. I don't care. He'll just be surprised because I'm liven up that cookout when I come over that joint. Anyway, I'm back. Guardian. He's supposed to be your standard of manhood. When you look for a man, you want to be able to look for a man's man. That's why a lot of women get disappointed because they may have had a father who was a man, but then you meet with one of these new brothers and they are a new definition of a man. But we'll get into that. He's supposed to be your instructor. A father is supposed to help give you instructions on how to live, how to carry yourself. One of the instructions I gave my daughter, when you are in a car, don't ever let the man touch you in any way, shape, or form. Don't even let him go, hey girl, and hit you on your thigh or whatever the case may be. Because if you do that, what he's trying to do is see if he can push the limits. Zuri girl, listen to me. Zuri meaning beautiful. You're very beautiful. And a dude will try to just get you on the slick side, try to rub up on you, try to touch you, but what he's really trying to do is test your boundaries. He's trying to see if he can get to a place to get you to drop your guards. He touch your thigh, you got to look at him straight up and say, listen, don't put your hands on me again. Just think of your Mimi and how she don't play, and then you'll know what time it is. My wife. And so now, he's supposed to be your observer. What a father does is he observes his child. And when he observes, he looks at her, he looks at his son, he observes what's going on so that he can pick up the necessary cues so that he can put things in place to help train. He's supposed to be the protector. And when I say the protector, he's also supposed to be your source. I'm going to go through this again, but I just wanted to set that up. And so now, almost every girl desires a close bond with the most significant man in her life. Almost every girl desires a close bond with the most significant man in her life. She will adore him if he loves and protects her, and if she finds safety and warmth in his arms. I'll say it again. She's going to look for a bond in her dad. And this is why sometimes sisters end up looking for their man to replace the bond that the dad did not give or they did not feel with their dad. And it says, but she will adore him if he loves and protects her, and if she finds safety and warmth in his arms. But now, watch this. She tends to see all men through the lens of that relationship. Women tend to see all men through the lens of the relationship she had with her dad. And if she didn't have a relationship with her dad, then she's going to see men through the lens of the experience she's seen of the women go through and what she's seen and her own assumptions and her own deducing on what it means to be a dad. I had my wife tell me, she said, it was just understood that all men cheat. It was just understood. Man, I found that hard to believe. She said, but that's all I understood. All men cheat. And that's what she came up with. And so, getting back, she tends to see all men through the lens of that relationship. Ignoring plus abuse plus abandonment. Listen, watch this. This is pretty good. If he ignores her, and she needs to be acknowledged. I've learned this through my granddaughter. I didn't start raising Talita until she was 8 or 9 years old. But with my granddaughter, I'm able to see she needs attention. And if she's ignored, if she does not get to see that she is seen. If you look at Avatar, one of the main things is I see you. And so a daughter has to know that she's being seen. When she's 5, when she's 3, when she's 2, when she's 20, when she's 25, when she's 12, when she's 18, when she's 32, when she's 42, when she's 52. As long as dad is alive, she wants to be seen. But if he ignores her, if he abuses her through silence, abuses her through not talking, abuses her through touching her, abuses her through disliking her mother, abusing her through not showing up, and abandons her. If she's been abandoned by her dad, if she realized I kept trying to rely on him and he was unreliable, if he was on drugs or whatever the case may be, I said all that to say there's going to be an intense yearning within, colored with resentment. She's going to have an intense yearning within, colored with resentment. This is why they call it today thirsty. She's going to be very thirsty, and she's going to have an intense yearning for fulfillment because there'll be a hole in her soul. As I keep going, it'll make sense, and y'all let me know. I don't know if this gets hearts or anything, and I can't see anything. So I'm just going to keep going. She will feel that way throughout her life until he disappoints her or one of them dies. I want you to understand, I have had to minister to sisters who were 40, who were 50. I just literally, when Jill did the women's conference, there was a sister who came out to change the rules, and she was 57 years old, and she said, I'm just coming to an understanding about some things about what was going on with her dad. So this is some serious stuff that we're talking about. So I'm going to go back through what I said when I said about the nurturer and all that stuff. He was supposed to be your nurturer, to teach you to trust. Instead, he neglected you. Now you neglected you. Now you trust no one. You don't believe one. You don't believe in men. You know they leave you numb. And so when you grow up and you're a little girl, you have a tendency that you're supposed to learn trust. But if you didn't learn trust growing up, then what's going to happen? You are not going to believe in men because you're going to feel numb. He was supposed to be your guardian, your Superman. Your papa left you unprotected. The father is supposed to be the Superman. The father is supposed to be the one who does everything. I was away, and Jill told me today that Zuri, my granddaughter, my dogs took a crap in her room, and she looked at it and she said, "Oh my God, I am gonna call and tell Big Daddy what these dogs did," because she's gonna see her father and her two grandfathers as Supermen. It's not just me. She loves her other granddad. She's going to see him as a Superman. She's going to see her dad as a Superman, because your papa is supposed to protect you. But if he left you unprotected, you're going to always have a hole in your soul. I hope I'm blessing you. He was supposed to be your standard of manhood, to teach you initiative. But you don't. Because you know you won't. You're scared. There's something missing. You're starved for attention. I ain't going to try to re-say that again. And so what happens if you don't know what the standard of manhood is? If you never got to have a true man in your presence, and a true man, and let me tell you something about a true man and a true father. And I don't know if it's coming up later on in this, what I talk about, but as a daughter, the first man you get to flirt with is your father. And when I say flirt, it's a flirt that's safe. And if the atmosphere is safe, you get to flirt, and that is to use whatever it is that God has blessed you with to flirt with your dad, if the environment is safe. But now, if you didn't have that standard of manhood, then what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself flirting with other people. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I can always look in a daughter's eyes or a little girl's eyes, be it 5, 7, 10, 9, and 12, 15, and you can often look in their eyes and see whether or not they received attention from a man or not. Because and you may want to call it thirsty. What I'm saying is that there's a hole in their soul, and there was something that's missing. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Can I keep going? Let me keep going. And so by the time you reach teenage years, your teenage years, where you're 15, 16, 17 or so, maybe 18. He was supposed to be your instructor, to teach you how to flow, so you would always know how to avoid the ways of destruction, how to break those bad dysfunctions, how to say no, how to train you up in the way that you should go. So by the time my daughter is 16, 17, 18, 19, it is now time for me to teach you. You have to follow what you have learned. You have now got to carry it out. She had an accident, and she called me up, panicking. I said, don't cry. I mean, well, cry if you want to, but get it together. Well, I'm not going to go. Yes, you are. Wait for the police to show up. Tell them what time it is. Then I told her, it's just a car. What is it, Talita? It's just a car. So do what you got to do. The father, he is to instruct you. This is how you talk to a man. This is how you talk to a woman. This is how you do what you do. That is what a father is supposed to do. Train you up in the way that you should go. Now I hear wisdom saying stop. And I'll stop right here in the sense of saying, stop beating yourself up because you didn't get this. Don't beat yourself up because you didn't get this. Know that he's giving it to you now. And when you get this, you'll be blessed. By the time you reach in your 20s, he is supposed to, by this time, observe you and get you and learn how you flow in your power. And you're supposed to be carrying this out in your life, now pursuing your life purpose. But if this pattern was interrupted through pregnancy, through molestation, through criticism, through abandonment, through whatever you want something happen, if this process was interrupted, then what happened was your growth got stunted. And when your growth got stunted, it caused you to have an inner ache. Now this is going to be somewhat controversial, but it's just the truth. Mothers cannot fill the empty space left by a father. Mothers cannot fill the empty space left by a father. A mother can give good love and she can give great love, but she's not going to fill that space left by a father. Her inner ache, what he thinks about her and how he expresses his affection, is always going to have an effect on her soul. Why? Because she has this need, and I watch it in my granddaughter, to be affirmed. She gets affirmed by my wife, by her mother, but she needs to be affirmed by her granddaddy, affirmed by her father. She just has to have that happen. He affects her femininity, and he teaches her how to relate to boys, how to relate to men. That's the responsibility of a father. So is it true or false? I don't need him. I'm wrapping it up right here. Is it true or false? I didn't need him. It's false. And here is why it's false. You didn't have the intellectual capacity to understand his rejection. I'm trying to give you ability, the way to let yourself off the hook for certain things you've done if you did not have him as your instructor. You didn't have the intellectual capacity to understand his rejection, nor did you have the inner defensive structure to insulate yourself against it. And so, as a child, you can't compute rejection and abandonment. And you often don't know how to insulate yourself, which can often lead to an addiction. It can also lead to an obsession. It can also lead to anger and rage. The bottom line is I wanted daddy to like me. And if daddy doesn't like me the way I am, then I'll change myself so daddy will like me. Here is why she is so emotional. And the most casual, negative comment made by her dad years ago, or by some person years ago, will echo in her soul. So I'm here and stop and just talk to you. So here's what I'll say and here's what I'll do. I was looking for something. Just going to talk to you. I grew up with my father, and he's responsible for me being able to talk clearly, fluently. He trained me how to defend myself. He showed me how to fight the bully. He taught me how to read. He was very instrumental in my life. And at some point as I got older, there were some other things that happened. I just don't feel like talking about that now because it's not important. But we have some bumps in the road. But you got to be able to accept the good with the bad. And so now let me just talk to you. You don't know who your dad is, or you had a dad and you got some bitterness. Let him off the hook. Find your center. Find your truth. Find out who you are. You got to come out of regret. I got to the point where I had to say, Deron, you got to let this man off the hook. You can't, every time you talk about your dad, start crying and getting angry. You can't do that. And the reason you can't is because you've got to go ahead and put this to bed, man. And you got to understand forgiveness. And I forgave. I let it go. I let it go. What good does it do for me to hold on to all of what happened? Let it go, man. But you don't know what he did to me. Listen, I don't care. It's over. You're either going to blank your slate and live right and enjoy yourself, or you're going to constantly let this energy keep you bitter. Let him off the hook. I let my dad off the hook. You don't know all of what happened, and I'm not excusing certain things, and it's over. But guess what? I'm a man, and I'm here. Sister, if you have daddy issues, then you need to read up on that. Because unless you put in new information, you're going to still keep dealing with somebody based upon the past. And I've seen so many sisters lose a person that they really wanted to be with because they spent more time talking about the issue as opposed to saying, let me address certain things within my life. And the same thing goes for a brother. The only reason I know this now is because I had to look at my wife for who she was and understand she was a survivor, and I was going to have to love her through and through. And I didn't necessarily father her, but I had to grow up, even though she was older than me, and stop taking everything personally. I think that's about all I have. I hope that blessed you. I'm doing well, I'm feeling well, and I'm thanking God. Every time I get an unction, he says, just get on there and talk about it. I hope this blessed you. And I'm going to stop right here. Let me see. I can't even see the daggone thing. Okay. Much love, and I beat you to it.